Welcome to the Ledgie Sports Podcast on the Ledgie Sports YouTube channel. We're joined by my guy, friend of the channel, co-host of the 313 Connect podcast, Brennan Sims. What's going on? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, man, I know. It was what's going on, y'all. That was a tough way to see it, see the season in. But yeah, we're here. We're ready to go.
Yeah, they didn't get a shot off at the end. And to me, that kind of capitalizes the kind of the ending of a game that wasn't going our way for a lot of it. I'm gonna pull up on the screen here real quick. Oh, I need to get that in front of here. I wanted to pull up the lead tracker of this game because it's something that really tells the tale of this game and how the Pistons weren't really meant to take it. I mean, from the get-go. You see New York, heavy favorites through the first half. I don't think Detroit even had a spot. Oh, they did in the last 30 seconds of the second quarter. But then Detroit had a little run to start the first, and by little run, I mean like a 2-point run. New York then takes it by the hand. Detroit has a little bit, and New York at the very end pulls it out of their pocket. So the shot making from Jalen Brunson this game and throughout this series has really made me more aware of him as a player, because I think when you're watching in the regular season, you don't really appreciate what he's doing. And as a Pistons fan, it sucks to say I appreciate it because I wish we were on the other side. I wish we were going to Game 7. But I respect what he does as a shot maker. Does he draw too many fouls based on flopping? Yeah, but the difference from Game 1, when he was accomplishing flopping basically all game, every other possession, it felt like. This game, he was putting it on the floor, and he put Asar Thompson on skates at the end.
Yeah, I will say, you bringing up game one, he did kind of adapt his game to not really flopping as much. Like flopping is a part of his game, and grifting and getting called is a part of his game. But he definitely changed it up some. He became, a pure shot maker like he is. But at the end of the game, man, just a hell of a move on Asar. Asar, world class defender, nasty pullback, man. That was just tough. That was a great move. But I kind of want to go back to like the 3 minute mark. I'm not sure exactly when Asar came out the game, but I was not sure why he came out the game. Because a few possessions in a row, I mean, he had Jalen Brunson in the box. Jalen Brunson would go to the mid range and pick up the ball every time Masai was on him down the stretch. The last play, that's what superstars do. Jalen Brunson, All NBA, playoff riser. He averaged in this series 35 or something crazy. Like he's a killer. It's like when you take off Asar and you put Schroeder on him, he got an easy little layup down there. Like that was the easiest basket of the night. So
Yeah,
I was just so confused when you took him out. Like again, like you said, the shot making was ridiculous. Put Asar on skates. Not much you can do there, man. I just a great move, and Asar actually recovered. He got back and contested the shot. But in the NBA, that's too much space. These guys, the shot making is ridiculous. So I took my cap to Brunson, but I'm still. Oh, somebody asked JB why did Asar come out the game there in that spot? If I'm not mistaken, he didn't even have 5 fouls, right?
no.
He had 4 fouls, right?
Yes.
But
There was a point, I think, when he was out for an extended period, he had 3. He actually had 3. That's
we
what.
had three for the game.
Yeah,
I want to know, man. Like, what was the logic behind getting him out of the game in that spot when Brunson wasn't really lighting us up in the fourth quarter yet? I would like to know the reasoning behind that.
and it's not like anyone else was having success guarding him. 45% from the field, 15 to 33, 40 points, pure shot making.
40
And,
ball.
and, and there was a possession where Sar locked him up, forced the shot clock violation. A few possessions before that ending one. So it just felt like throughout this series, there was some sort of issue with having Asar Thompson on the court to JB Bickerstaff. And I don't know where that stems from. I don't think there's a specific play I look at. He seems like a great kid. I mean, it seems like he's a hell of an athlete, a hell of just a basketball player. He's going to go out there and work. So this is a conversation me and Sean actually had. I was on his podcast last night. I don't know if that one's aired yet, but we kind of talked about it. I mentioned what's going on with that, and Sean's big point was talking about fouls. Tonight, that wasn't the issue. He didn't have early fouls. He had 3. So
Right.
what is the thought process there? Can you think of anything that would kind of give reason to that?
I mean, maybe it's the the spacing that he doesn't provide. I feel
Yeah.
like he did a good job cutting into space today. Like he ended the game with 17 points, had a lot of great cuts and stuff. So that's the only thing I could think of is maybe you think you can't score with a star on the floor, but the stats. I know he was -7 this game plus minus wise, but the stats prior to this game have shown that the Pistons are a much better team statistically with a star on the floor. So like I said, the half court offense you might think it's a little bit more stale. You might I know Asar ball handling wise hasn't he's not all the way there yet. He needs to grow in that aspect, but man, I don't know. Like you said, nobody really has had success guarding Brunson. It's like once he saw Asar on him for that last play, it was like, okay, I really got to get in my bag. When it was Schroeder or a switch, it was easy money.
Yeah.
Easy money. So the Asar point is definitely I would like to hear the reasoning behind that. But back to what you said about the final shot, man, or the final possession. You didn't even get a shot.
Yeah.
At I stood up on K Pat. That was a great play design.
Yeah.
Like Beasley was wide open, man.
Yeah. And Malik
Gotta
Beasley
get a shot in
had
that spot.
Malik Beasley had a little bit of a renaissance that game as well. A lot of it came during that second quarter. Hit a big shot in the fourth quarter as well, 6 of 13 from 3. It's just a bummer that we didn't get one off, and I think that's going to be something that sticks with this team for a while, and it's going to be something that it's not something that you can go into the offseason and say, okay, that's something that's easily fixable. That's just a lapse. That's just a fumble. I mean, that Gary Trent Jr. fumble to end the game against Indiana, that was very similar. They weren't able to get a shot off. Or was it they turned it over and then Tyrese Halliburton had the game winner? Do you remember? Do you know what I'm talking
So
about?
something like that. I know I saw Gary Trent turn it over and then Tyrese had the game winner, but I'm not sure if that was overtime or regulation.
Okay, yeah, my bad for not remembering that exactly, but it's just it's plays that you can't just go in the offseason and drill it because that's a simple chest pass there. And I don't think it was a bad pass. It just was a little bit of a fumble by Beasley. I don't know if he was expecting the pass to come his way. It seemed like it was designed that way, but
Kind of did.
it, especially from a shooter like Malik Beasley, you want to be in those situations because if you're Cade Cunningham, you also want to be in those situations because he was 0-8 from 3 tonight. And it's an insane thing to think if Cade makes one of those threes, that's a different ball game. That's a different result. That's going to Madison Square Garden Game 7. Tim Hardaway Jr.,
Yeah.
1 of 6 from 3. If he hits one more, potentially a different outlook. And going back to the Asar point a little bit, the biggest thing this year when I've heard of people being proponents of, well, Asar's not out, the offense is better. I think in theory, that makes sense. You put more shooting. You get Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dennis Schroeder out there. You have 4 of those guys that are able to do work around Cade Cunningham in some shape or order. But the thing is, when Asar's out there, like you mentioned, he's cutting, he's moving, he's able to be a backdoor cutter that not a lot of teams are expecting. I mean, 17 points this game, 22 points the game before. He's been kind of the safety valve for this team. He's kind of been a guy to kind of bail them out at points. And it's not like he's this elite creator, but he's very elite at moving, and he's using his athleticism to get open, get to the rim. So, like you said, it's just a confusing situation, and I just kind of want to hear the mindset behind it.
Yeah, man. I know, our guy Sean has definitely schooled us on the media and how you don't really ask all the questions the fans want to ask because sometimes it's not the
Yes.
time and place for that. But I would just love to hear that at that 3:30 mark, why in the world did he go to the bench?
Yeah.
Especially when he had three fouls and did not look comfortable out there, man. So his growth is something that I'm definitely looking forward to next year, man, because he didn't even come into this year with a full offseason of work. Like he couldn't work at all in the offseason. So he came in here kind of, just not kind of willy-nilly. Like he
Yeah.
got cleared during the season. So now he'll get a full offseason, man. All of those 22-minute nights, that should be a thing of the past. I want to see it ramped up to about 34 next year, man. His
Yeah.
legs should be under him. His conditioning should be better next year. He had a whole year with getting reps with the ball in his hand, so I want to see that handle get a little tighter and the downhill decision making kind of getting a little sharper. Defensively, like we said, man, that's just a hell of a move. You can't even take nothing about that into next year. Like it's just a good move, and it just is what it is. That's a great player, made a hell of a move, but still one of the best defenders in the world, especially on the ball. A hound, great using his body and getting through screens, man. So looking towards his growth. But you kind of touched on Cade. His three ball kind of abandoned him tonight.
Yeah. I mean,
For
it's been throughout the series. Sorry to take your point
18%.
there.
Oh no, 18%, man. Um, that is not what I expected.
No.
Especially they were going under a lot. They were going under the screens a lot. And so there's a lot of times where they tried to get the switch on Brunson. OG would go under. He wouldn't take the shot. And I know it was because he was cold, but he's not an 18% three-point shooter.
No.
Like, hey, shot needs work, but he's not an 18% three-point shooter. Hopefully this series was an anomaly, but that was not something that was on my bingo card for this playoff series, that K was gonna pick it up from three like that.
Yeah. I mean, game 1, 1 of 4. Game 2, 1 of 4. Game 3, 2 of 5. Next 0 of 3. And this game, 1 of, or I guess last game, 1 of 4. And tonight, what was it? Sorry, that's not updated on this stat sheet.
Tonight was I'm on pivot
Oh, didn't I
phase.
read it was like 0
Tonight,
of 8?
yep, all of it.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that's going to stick with him until next playoffs, because the thing is, what you do in the playoffs sticks with you, and that's what stuck with Malik Beasley, and that's, I believe, what's continually going to continue to stick with him. But with Cade, next season, the regular season, he's going to have to prove what he proved to us last year as well, with the three-point shot being there. It's not going to take as much stock as if he can do it in the playoffs, though, because if he can go into next playoffs and show I mean, let's say at worst, 35%? I mean, that you're still looking at that, okay, that's a massive improvement from last playoffs, but hopefully they don't get a matchup like the Knicks where you have OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, all these lengthy wings that, I mean, they can hound you all game.
It did too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that defensive trio, I knew it would have more value in the playoff setting than it would in the regular season. Like honestly, I still expected them to be good in the regular season, but they weren't. But I knew in the playoffs that trio would be they would raise hell with the way they have that length and they can move laterally. And Josh Hart has the strength. OG does too.
Mm-hmm.
Mikal is just lengthy and very high IQ defender. So yeah, man, that's a I'm not gonna say that's a great team. I'm not gonna lie. I can't go that far. I don't
No.
think they do much against. I don't think they do much against Boston. But
Hey, do you have a broom?
uh, I give them. I respect Brunson enough.
Okay, yeah.
And the Boston injuries, they don't give me cause for concern about this series. But I think that might be a thing moving forward for Boston if they can't get healthy. Yeah, yeah. That Knicks defense. Towns actually rim protecting a lot better than I thought he could too during the series.
Mm,
That call should have been called a foul. What was that? What game was that? Was that game three when K went to the rack? And
I don't
then
remember.
Cat kind of contested him. He kind of leaned down.
I remember
Yeah,
the play,
Cat
don't
usually
remember the game.
yeah. Cat usually don't move like that, so that was kind of impressive. But yeah, man. How did you feel about Jalen Duren in this series?
It was a lot like what I felt during the regular season. It was very hit or miss. I mean, in this first half, do you really think there was much Jalen Duren impact there? It was something that was desperately missing, and I think that's what kind of led to getting behind. And that's something that during this series there has been starts where we just get behind, and we have to build our way out. And I think a lot of that has to do with Jalen Duren in the defense and kind of the lack of offense. And I think that's not on him totally, because I think it was kind of a scheme. It was what the Knicks were taking away, which was the two-man game of Cade and Duren. Because I don't know. I feel like I didn't. They definitely operated in the pick and roll, what was there, like one alley oop this series? So they were
Right.
able to kind of stop that, and I think that was something that honestly took him a little bit out of the series because he's not getting those entry passes. There was only one game, and I think it was last game in the win in the second half where he got an entry pass and was able to make decisions with the basketball, leading to 2 assists back to back, breaking into that Knicks run. But throughout the series, I don't think I noticed much in regards to facilitation from Jalen Duren, which is also something that we witnessed during the regular season. Defense, though, there were times where he looked like young Dwight Howard because of his athleticism.
Yeah.
He's able to get those blocks. He's able to get some of those dunks on the offensive end. But specifically on defense, it just seemed like a very hit or miss thing.
Yeah, man. It is. It's a tough matchup for him to guard those bigs that can shoot and take you off the dribble.
Yeah.
Tough matchup. We missed Stu a lot in this one.
Yeah.
Stu, physicality, his presence, intimidation factor, all of that, it would have made a huge difference. They did slow down Cat though. I did like the especially down the stretch when they put Duran on Josh Hart and Tobias on Cat. I was a fan of that all series, so I did like that move from JB. Still some questionable moves. All of the challenges that he lost this series.
Yeah. Yeah. It really felt
Yeah.
like a thing where the regular season, they were really good when challenging. In the regular season, they were really good at making adjustments. In the regular season, we didn't have the questions that we have this series. So, are we looking too much into it? Are we looking too much into what's going on with the coaching and kind of nitpicking because we're going against the same team? What is it? We went against them 6 times in a row. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. Some of the same fallouts from his Cleveland time, and I know I'm kind of getting away from what you asked. Sorry. But
So it's okay.
the
Yeah.
fallout from his Cleveland time, a lot of people were drawing some comparisons, especially with
Yeah.
rotations, game plan, all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to say it's like a personal grudge, but saying fouls is the reason why you're not playing your best defender when he's not fouling. That's that's interesting.
Yeah. It
Again, though, it probably is a spacing point. You probably like you said earlier, you want more shooting with Beasley or Hardaway. You want that spacing so K can attack, collapse the defense, and have somebody kick it out to. But again, sorry moving off the ball like that, he can provide some value when they're sagging off of him.
yeah.
Um, I kind of want to circle back to your point about taking away Cade and during two-man game.
Yes.
That's playoff basketball, man. Playoff basketball. Like good teams take away the best thing that you do. That was Duran's bread and butter to get in rhythm and to feel like he was actually in the game. He'd catch those lobs, he would defend harder. I think it's just human nature. I'm not saying that he's purposely like, no, I'm not going to guard Cat unless I get some lobs. I think it's just human nature to lock in more once you see the ball go in and you feel like you're a part of the offense and stuff. It's just human nature. Yeah, man, Tibbs did that was great. Went under on K, kind of daring him to shoot. Sometimes he would shoot and miss. Sometimes he wouldn't shoot, and OG can get back. But that was good coaching to get the Pistons away from what they do best, especially with that two-man game.
Yeah. And I just keep wanting to go back to the point that's going in my head consistently. This series was so close, and it was all about the margins at the end of the games, and it was about the little things that each team did. And in both sides in every game were able to say, if they just did this one thing, this outcome is different. These games were so close. And just the shooting from Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Beasley, and honestly, Dennis Schroeder this series. Those are the guys that I think we really needed to be able to rely on to win the series. And honestly, if we had average Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr. shooting in these games, I think we win the series. And if not, we force
It's
a game
like
seven.
dudes could never get going at the same time. It's
Yeah.
like they take each other powers each game. Okay, you got it this game, and in game six, I'll start making threes. I'll make 6.5, but in other games, I'm 1 for 8.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was super nasty. Yeah, the series is so close without your second best player theoretically in Jaden Ivey, without your best overall defender in Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah.
So it's not time to make excuses, but it is time to realistically assess the season and say, man, fellas went this far and took a team that was supposed to be
Yeah.
a contender to the brink without pivotal pieces of our on the team, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So
And Brennan, I want to say that we easily could have gotten on this live stream and had confetti. We could be playing music in the background. We could be dancing. And with the same result, because I'm happy. Although I'm pretty bummed with what happened, if I'm talking about
yeah,
looking at the overall collective mindset on this entire season, I think we accomplished what Trajan Langdon thought we might accomplish. Oh, your camera fall?
yeah, I don't know why it did that.
All good. Here, I'll turn that off for a second. Let me know when you're all good. Um, but the thing is with this team is Trajan Langdon, JB Bickerstaff, when they were
Oh,
having
good.
conversations, there we go. When they were having conversations and interviews or right when they were hired trying to talk about what they wanted to accomplish during the season, I think this might have been a result they could have been talking about in 2 years from now. A year, I mean, maybe next year, the year after. I don't think any of them thought they would be able to go against a 3 seed and make it competitive to a point where you could say, if things go this way, that's a win for us. We could be in
Yeah.
that second round.
Yeah, honestly, to a point where in the beginning, it seemed like the Pistons outplayed them in every quarter. I know things kind of they kind of changed in the middle of the series, but yeah, that was not a circumstance we saw coming into the year. But I feel like we haven't really talked about Cade in detail about his series on his playoff debut. Um, Superstar, a superstar in the making. He is a superstar. Brunson, that was a big talking point. Who will be the best player in the series? I feel like Brunson did produce more, but
Yeah.
I do always have to factor in that Brunson is in an environment that lends towards him producing more than somebody like Cade, what Cade has around him. No diss to anybody, but it's like, Detroit can't sell out to stop Jalen Brunson. You got to go one on one with a Asar because if you sell out, Towns can shoot, Mikhail can
Yeah.
shoot, OG can shoot. So it's not the same thing. So don't get me wrong though. Brunson was the best player in the series. He produced the most, but Cade still showed that he has arrived. He's a star, a superstar at this point. I don't know. The turnovers are still a thing.
Yeah.
That and it could stem from what's around me. It could stem from my handle isn't as tight as it should be. Sometimes I'm lackadaisical with the ball. It's a combination of all of those things. And 3-point shooting. Again, did not expect him to shoot 18% from three, man. Shot
Yeah.
like 35% in the regular season. So it's kind of like once he started missing, it started to snowball.
Yeah.
So,
That's not what you expect from Cade Cunningham. And going back to your point, talking
mm,
about Jalen Brunson and what he has around him. I mean, what's around Cade Cunningham? The second best player on the team, Tobias Harris. Game 1, 25. Game 2, 15. Game 3, 5. Game 4, 18. Then 17. And then tonight, like I said, it's not updated on my screen for some reason. He did what he did tonight. If you could pull that up, if that's what you're doing
yeah.
right now.
Yeah, 14 and 5 rebounds.
Yeah. So it's a thing where he's doing what I think he's asked to do. I think he's doing what he should be doing in his role. What we're missing is the in between, and we're missing the in between Cade, in between Tobias. Is that Jaden Ivey? If we saw him in this playoff series, if he was able to get healthy 2 weeks before the playoffs, he was able to be a full go. Is he that guy that would be filling in, scoring that 17 to 22 points a game in the series? Maybe if you're talking about shortening the rotation, maybe he's at 23, 24. So taking that off
Yeah.
of Cade. And it's a thing where we can talk ifs, we can talk ands. Maybe things wouldn't have happened. Maybe things wouldn't have worked. But the fact is, this team accomplished this without a true number 2. And I can honestly say a true number 3 even. I would go that far to say Tobias is probably who you want to be your 4th best player on your team. And that's not to discredit him because he's a phenomenal asset. But at this point in his career, I really think that he fits into a specific role, and he's doing what he can accomplish at that role.
I agree. Especially if you're talking about contending for a championship, Tobias is probably closer to a four than a second option.
Yeah.
But kind of circling back on Ivy a little bit, I know that right now we living off the high of, the Pistons were so close, but they had this one more thing. I know Ivy wasn't ever the greatest playmaker in the world. Like he was kind of
Mm-mm.
tunnel vision to an extent. Like, he would get to the room and it's going up a lot of times. But he did improve the driving kicking a little bit this season. And even if his shot wasn't falling, just the fact that he is a blur in the open court and in the half court, I just feel like he could have created some confusion with the Knicks defense. And yeah. So I think Ivy, because the shot making was there, especially from three. So if he was hitting like he was hitting during the regular season, that's another 38% shooter.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was fool's gold because it was like a half of a season, but again, I say he wasn't hitting. That speed is a different animal. So I
Mm-hmm.
definitely think that he would have impacted the game even if he wasn't scoring a ton. Just his presence, like Tobias isn't as dynamic as he is. Asar isn't on offense. Beasley and Hardaway are one-dimensional shooters. Well, not one-dimensional shooters, but one-dimensional players. Definitely are versatile shooters, but they're shooters. Like they don't put it on the floor much, they don't defend much, they don't pass much. So yeah, man, K really he was in it without a true number two, something that Jalen Brunson cannot say.
Yeah.
Because even though Towns had two 10-point games, you pay a lot of attention to him.
Yeah.
A lot of attention to Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah. We got a couple comments in here. Most recent, GG. If Ivy was playing, maybe we'd win. Yeah, we're just kind of talking about that. It's so hard to talk about the ifs, but that's a glaring thing to look at because that's an
Right.
obvious piece that we're missing. And he kind of fits that supercharged Dennis Schroeder role. And I segueing real quick, we can come back to this point. There was something I saw online where if you could only choose to keep Dennis Schroeder or Malik Beasley, who would you choose? And that's such a tough conversation because one of the topics was, or one of the solutions, I guess somebody had for that question was, if you have Jaden Ivey back, do you really need a Dennis Schroeder? You'd rather have that elite shooting. But my point is, can you have too many players who can handle the ball, shoot, play off
No.
ball, and also be a shooter? I think this series kind of proved that with Malik Beasley. If he's not hitting his shot, is he more of a liability? As much as I love the guy, as much as I'm going to say pay him because you can't afford to lose what he can bring. But in
Yeah.
theory, if you lose the shooting from Dennis Schroeder, you still have a guy who can score off the dribble, a guy who can facilitate, a guy who can score inside, do a lot of different things. And imagine the 3 guard lineups: Cade, Ivy, Schroeder, and whatever iteration you want to put them at 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, your point about can you have enough players that can handle the ball? Never. I remember just quickly when OKC drafted Osmoon Dang.
Yeah.
He doesn't play a lot, but their philosophy was we're gonna draft players that can dribble, pass, and shoot. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, they keep drafting the same player." But in my mind, I'm like, "Bro, this is a
Yeah.
league where skill, dribble, pass, and shooting is king. You can never have enough players that can do that." So yeah, back to the Pistons. Beasley or Schroeder. I will say the difference between Schroeder and Ivy is the poise that Schroeder has,
Yes.
the explosiveness that Ivy has. Like Ivy is capable of going for 40. I don't think he's had 40 before, but he's still that type of guy. Like you can tell when Ivy gets it going, he can really just turn it up and keep the pressure on you. But the poise and decision making that Schroeder has makes him a little different. But I don't know, man. I would pay Bees too. I don't know how much. I wouldn't pay Bees $15 million. I don't think. No, I
Yeah,
know I
that's a
wouldn't.
lot. It's a league
I know
where
I
you
wouldn't.
have to be able to have a couple different traits and a couple different
Yes.
primary skills. We're- We've gotten away from just the single shooters. We've gotten away just from the single skill defenders. The Andre Robersons, the Luke Kennards. I guess he added playmaking a little bit later in his career. I mean, we got rid of those guys a few years ago. But the fact is, this team was able to kind of get the most out of Malik Beasley. And I think the fact that he could score, catch and shoot in the half court, catch and shoot, transition, pull up, transition, that kind of adds a little bit more because I'm not going to try to compare him to Luka. I'm not trying to do that because that would be very disrespectful. He was a few threes away from being the leader in 3 points made off the bench. So it's just a thing, though, where if he doesn't have those other traits, if he doesn't shoot well, that's what you're kind of having to deal with.
Yeah, and as somebody who religiously follows the Miami Heat, Duncan Robinson is kind of the guy who kind of ended that. When the Heat paid him all that money and the league just took him out of the season in 2023, it's like, yeah, you can't pay one-way shooters.
Yeah.
That is, you can't pay him $20 million. That is, the cap can keep going up, but one-way shooters cannot get paid that much money. So, like you said, I would keep Beasley around, but I want to keep Schroeder around too, man.
Yeah.
I want to keep Schroeder around. Schroeder is he was the second best player at points of this series.
Oh, 100%.
You know, at points of the season, he was the second best player. So yeah, I would want to keep both, but if I had to pick, the shooting is so valuable because if you don't have Beasley, depending on Hardaway Jr. to be that type of shooter, and I think Beasley, I do trust Beasley more than Hardaway.
Yeah.
If I had to pick, because I got Cade and Ivy coming back, I would pick Beasley, but it's not an easy decision at all.
Yeah.
I want to keep Schroeder a lot.
And my mindset is hopefully we keep both. That was just if you had to choose one, gun to your head, what are you doing? So
Yeah,
I'm
not
just
easy.
still so
Not
upset.
easy at all.
Yeah. Does this series kind of change your outlook on the future of this team? Because like we've already mentioned multiple times on this episode, on other episodes, not even that long ago, that this team didn't expect this. And so does you kind of go into this offseason thinking, oh gosh, we need to do something drastic? Or do you kind of want to keep it a little bit more familiar to what we're seeing right now?
Yeah, man. It's just, it's tough. Because I do think Cade is ready for a guy, like a guy next to him. I think Cade is at that level where if you trade for a guy, it wouldn't be a big mistake because I think Cade is already at that level to compete for, the real deal for everything. At the same time, you guys got this far without Ivy and without Stu. So it's a part of me that's like, man, just kind of run it back, let Ron Holland develop and get better, let Asar get a full off season of training, let let Ivy come back healthy, and it's a whole different situation. But it's another part of me like depends on what's out there, man.
Yeah.
It really depends on what's out there because if teams have blow ups and everybody is on the block, Pistons do have assets to go make moves.
Yeah.
Like I said, Kate is ready for a guy next to him because he is that good. And this series really showed that the guy needs another elite creator, not somebody as good as him, like a Pippen to his Jordan. He needs somebody like that. So and like, again, he only in year four. So would you be rushing it if you did it now? I say no because I say he's good enough for that. Like it kind of like it kind of depends on what's out there in the summer. I don't think you go shopping, Ron and Asar and Ivy. You don't and Duran. You don't go shopping. But if like whom like if a Desmond Bain, I know his contract is crazy, but if a Desmond Bain was on the block this summer, man, you gotta entertain it. See what they talking about over there. You gotta entertain it.
Yeah. And real quick to the 11 viewers in here, 22 eyeballs. Thank you for joining us today. Comments on the game. We are all kind of going through this grief together, but we're kind of moving on from talking about the game, looking a little bit more into the future of Detroit. And we're talking a little bit now, if you're just joining us, about what do we want to do next? What do the Pistons want to do next? Should they go and get a big fish? You mentioned something about you already saw what they could do without Stu, without Ivy. But the thing is, how much further could you get with them? So let's say you do beat the Knicks. It's still probably a close series either way because you have to take away minutes from other contributors. Then you go against Boston. You are
Yeah, not
out star power. And let's say you were on the other side of the bracket. You have to go against Cleveland.
Cleveland.
So
Yeah.
are you up to that standard? And let's even go a little further. Let's say you were in the Milwaukee Bucks situation. Let's say at the end of the year, you had to You swap some losses with some wins, and you make it to that 5 seed against Indiana. Do you really think that Detroit, with those two, could really get past that team? And to me, it's kind of it's hard to tell, but part of me just wants to say, look at who's on each of those teams. Indiana was Siakam, Halliburton, and then all those other role players that know their role. Nemhard, I mean, they're a deep team. Cleveland with all their guys. I want to say that there's a lot more teams below Detroit than there is above them in the East, but the fact is, with what Cade's doing at a historic level, I feel like you have to prioritize that, and you have to give him every ample opportunity, because we saw with Luka in Dallas, and obviously it was ended because of management, but you have a star 1 minute, and then he's gone. And there's been a lot of different circumstances in the league where we've seen stars absolutely dominate, but then they don't have that high, like that long of a contending window. So what can we do to get him there? One thing I've kind of thought about, Brennan, Giannis. So I know every other team is going after him. I know every other team has picks and has players. But if you're talking about assets that you could give along with 3 first-round picks, maybe an additional swap or 2, along with you hopefully can keep Asar, but you'd probably include a Jalen Duren, you'd probably include a Ron Holland, Marcus Sasser. You'd gut your team, but you'd have the potential to put in the best power forward potentially in the NBA, let's just say in the Eastern Conference, and the best potential point guard in the Eastern Conference. And I think with those two together, with their play styles, they elevate each other because of how they could play off of each other. So there's a world where you say you have a top 3 point guard and a top 2 power forward. So, and obviously this is like me kind of just being a coping Pistons fan saying like, oh, we have assets, we can be in these big deals. We probably won't be, but let's entertain that for a minute. Would you even think about that?
Yeah, honestly, keeping it a stack, if the Pistons included everything, they do have a hell of an offer, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I know OKC has a lot, but I don't really think OKC, depending on how this year goes, like if they flame out, they might put everybody on the table besides Shea, obviously. Probably not though. Them dudes still like 22. So maybe you just rock out and let them get older and stuff. But I know the Spurs and the Rockets could have great packages. I do think if you were to seriously get Giannis, I think Asar would have to be in the trade. As much as I hate to say that, Asar is my personal favorite, not the best on the team, but just my favorite, just the way he plays and his athleticism, nothing we've seen before. But keeping it a stat, to get Giannis, like the production that he's having right now in the Bucks will probably be tanking to restart their franchise. Probably have to do a Sar, Ron, um, a contract has to match because Giannis is making over 50, so you gotta only more contracts to make the contracts fit. But I would entertain it. It would hurt, but just to add that type of talent and to put yourself in that position to compete year after year, because Giannis is only 30 or 31 or something, so you got at least 4 more years of looking like you said, probably to me the second best power forward ever after
Yeah.
Duncan. So it's at least 4 more years of looking like that. So pairing him with Cade, I would consider it for sure. But it's gonna be hard to outbid some of those other teams with the picks that they have. But I would, if it's realistically on the table, you gotta consider it because it's just too much talent to ignore, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And pivoting to another player to potentially look at. Did you hear about the Boston Celtics rumor / news?
I did.
So
I
I
did. They
can't
might
find
they
the
might break up the
exact
team.
tweet. Yeah, I can't find the exact tweet, but due to the new ownership potentially coming in, or I guess that is coming in, and due to their massive payroll, it doesn't matter if they win titles. It doesn't matter how long they play in the playoffs and get revenue. They're going to lose money. That's just kind of the facts when you're talking about how many players they have to pay. With this new second apron rules, with the new CBA, they're going to have restrictions that are unheard of.
Right.
Some of them are even like your first or your first round pick 7 years from now will be locked or something like that, and you can't use it or trade it, and you have to make that pick. So there's a lot of hurdles they would have to go through to kind of keep this team. And I think at this point, Kristaps Porzingis is a name that could potentially be out of Boston. He's provided a great shooting role. He's had some injury history with them as well, injury history before then. But he's a guy I kind of wanted on the Pistons before he made it to Boston after Washington. So do you kind of see that as a potential fit here?
As a fit, yeah, he can definitely fit here. He is the antithesis of what Duran is in terms of Cade and Duran having a two-man game from the lob perspective, but he would be a great fit with Cade in terms of the pick and pop
Yeah.
and the space that he would provide for Cade because Cade isn't right now naturally the best finisher. So a way to aid him to finish better is to give him more spacing. So a stretch five that teams absolutely have to respect from 30 feet. That would help Cade's finishing a bit. And obviously Cade just getting better and getting stronger is gonna help him, taking better angles. But yeah, from that perspective, Zingis would definitely fit here. Playing with Cade. The injuries do scare me, not gonna lie. The health has been a factor with him getting back to the Knicks. So I don't know how much I would really give up for him, to be honest. I definitely wouldn't give up either of the wings in terms of like a Sar or Ron. So Duran, but the money has to match, so you need more. So is that would be an intriguing fit because of the shooting and the spacing he provides, straight great rim protector too on the other end, but the injuries, the age, all of that stuff kind of concerns me.
Yeah.
What about Jalen Brown? If Jalen Brown was like that's something.
Yeah, that's a name that is
Because
very intriguing because he kind of
making a lot
fits
of money.
a lot of money, but he fits a role that multiple players on this team currently provide. I mean, he can kind of fit that Asar Thompson, Jaden Ivey-esque role. The handle isn't there as we're still continuing to see. Into the 23 viewers in here, welcome in. That is 46 eyeballs. I put a comment in the chat. What's your favorite moment from the 24-25 Pistons magical season? Let us know yours, and we're going to talk a little bit about that to kind of end out the stream in a little bit. But Jalen Brown, like I was mentioning, I mean, that's just the elite scorer next to Cade, kind of offering what Desmond Bane potentially could in a varying style. I mean, that would be kind of the same sort of idea. You get Cade another scorer on the team. I mean, is Jalen Brown realistic to you as a fit here?
Man, Cade is just such a versatile player. I do feel like a lot of players can fit next to him because I do feel like if he had more ball handling next to him, he could thrive off the ball. We've seen him even in this series. We saw him post up. We saw him coming off down screens and going to set screens and posting up that way. So I do think Cade can thrive off the ball. It's just right now they need him to have the ball all game. So a guy like Jalen Brown could definitely come in here and get his rocks off and be kind of a go-to scorer while Cade is a 27 and 10 type of guy. I can see Jalen Brown coming in and I know 27 to 10 is a lot for somebody that's like a second option, but Jalen Brown can come in here and take the most shots. I don't know how efficient he would be or would he outscore Cade, but Jalen Brown definitely fits that role as somebody who wants to score first while Cade first, and they could probably vibe off of each other.
Yeah.
So he doesn't offer the most spacing like a Desmond Bane would, but it's just a that's just a aggressive monster attacking the paint and looking for a shot. He definitely puts pressure on the defenses like that. So I mean, I just feel like it's gonna be hard to find a player that won't fit next to K because he's so versatile and so smart.
Yes. It'd
He's
be
willing to
hard to.
get off the ball. That's huge. He's willing to get off the ball as an on-ball creator.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of players who would want to play with him as well and realize that fit. And it's just about finding the right circumstances of being able to trade for or sign a player like that. The interesting thing with Jalen Brown, though, is what would the Celtics want that the Detroit Pistons could give? And I think that's a situation you'd have to look at with a lot of these teams, especially Memphis as well. What is something they would want that Detroit could give? One big thing is they have gone after defensive wings, primarily 3-and-D kind of guys. OG Anunoby was a big one. Mikal Bridges was a big one. and not a 3-and-D wing, but the lengthy Kevin Durant, obviously very different animal there. That could be a potential sneaky Asar Thompson spot if they're really hot and heavy for him. If that could be a part of a Desmond Bane deal, you'd be sacrificing a lot of defense for offense there. So it would have to be a
Yeah,
larger sort
man.
of deal. Maybe it's even a Jaren Jackson sort of thing. Because I feel like they have to make some sort of big change. And I feel if they wanted to go hard after Asar Thompson, obviously, I think he would be the most. Am I being a homer to say Asar would be the most important piece of that deal? Because I feel like we've seen what Bane can do. We've seen what Jaren Jackson can do. But looking at what Asar has done, we can see what he still can become.
I mean the potential is off the charts. So I feel like if you're looking for a reset, you kind of are looking for potential slash somebody already solid. Asar has shown that he is an NBA starter. He does have tools that can maybe unlock him to stardom. But Bane is super proven right now. I do think Bane on a different team where he can operate more with the ball. I think he would be better than he was in Memphis. I think Memphis, especially this year, was a lot of team-oriented basketball, like a lot of just passing and cutting, not a lot of pick and rolls. So I feel like they all suffer. Besides Jaren Jackson, Jaren Jackson had a career year,
Yeah.
but he kind of stumbled in the playoffs because playoff basketball, you need those elite creators, man. You can't really depend on what they were doing in the regular season. But I do think Bane, if he was in Detroit in a more pick and roll heavy system under a bigger staff and doing a lot of dribble handoffs, I think Bane would look a lot better. A lot better. I agree. You gotta break it up in Memphis. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
That they cannot run it back.
Well,
They cannot run it back.
where's a potential Ja location? Because thinking about what they could do, they could bring in a lot of assets if they were to blow it up. Honestly,
Mhm.
they have some young guys. They've been really good at drafting the past few years. Especially
Yeah.
those wings. So you have John Morant. You could move for potentially 3 first plus and a young player plus. Desmond Bane. It really depends on what the market is, but I do feel like he's at least a 2 first round pick guy plus, and then a young player plus. Jaren Jackson Jr., that's kind of the wild card there because I feel like his fit has to be very particular because he's not really a rebounder. He's a 4-5
Sure.
that kind of plays like a 3. So it's a really interesting thought about where he would really fit as a player. But I feel like he's a guy because of his skill set is kind of limited to
Yes.
kind of 2 firsts. Because he has such a unique skill set, I think that almost takes away a little bit of his value.
But I do think that his skill set is kind of what everybody wants. Now you hit it right on the nose. The rebounding, never gonna happen.
Yeah.
As a Michigan State guy, I've accepted that Jaren Jackson will never be a good rebounder, period. Not even okay, he will never be a good rebounder. But the fact that he can protect the rim and shoot threes, teams just crave that. Like teams like Miles Turner has been on the trade block for 8 years because he has those two traits. Like Miles Turner isn't even he's hyped up to be every February, but it's like teams desperately want a rim protector that can shoot the ball and space the floor. So a part of me feels like Ja's value has kind of went down based off of everything around him and his play not really he hasn't been what he was in 2022, like that series against the Warriors, or was that 23? I can't remember. He hasn't really been that. So part of me feels like his value has kind of went down, but he sells jersey tickets, he sells shoes. So like from an owner's perspective, Ja is still valuable in that regard, but um yeah, they just got to break it up. I think Jaren would have a little bit more value because he can protect the rim and shoot the three. But if it is particular, you do need to have a real center next to him because if you don't, if he's your five, like anchoring your team, rebounding, you got to have some feisty rebounders around him because Jaren
Yeah.
Jackson will never be a good rebounder.
And that's where putting him next to a Jalen Duren seems very ideal because I think they kind of make up for each other's weaknesses there. And I do think a lot of that relies on if Jalen Duren can kind of develop more in the post scoring, interior scoring, because he's shown signs and he's shown flashes that he has the potential to be a top 5 interior scorer. Just hasn't really all come together. But his ability to be an offensive hub kind of allows for Jaren Jackson to not have to worry about on ball creation and worrying about creating his own shot, creating for others. He can go out there and do what he does. Kind of similar to like a Jabari Smith Jr., who I think needs a different role in this league. I think in Houston, his days are numbered, especially if they go out. Their game's tomorrow, right? Game 6? Does that okay? Yeah. So if they go out, Jabari Smith Jr. I think is a name who could be on the move, and I think Detroit. Obviously, you might hope for a bigger splash, but I think that what happened shouldn't change the mindset of we still need to find gems and we still need to find diamonds in the rough. That's how you get through long rebuilds, because you need to stock up value and you need to get it for as cheap as possible. So if we go out there and trade for a Jaren Jackson, you're going to have to pay a lot. If you go out and trade for a Jabari Smith Jr., you won't have to pay too much, but if it pays off, it could be very similar to, I don't want to say very similar, but it could be towards the value of a Jaren Jackson if it works out, if the fit works great.
They definitely have a lot of similarities. That should be where he is trying to get to.
Yes.
Obviously, he's already a better rebounder, but he does want to probably get to that defensive player of the year level defense with the shooting that Jaren provides. But yeah, Barry is a good fit in Detroit, man. A lot of these dudes, man, like I said, when you got a star like Cade, it's just so easy to imagine these pairings because so versatile and such a team first guy. It's not like you're building around one of those guys who needs the ball for 30 dribbles to create his own stuff.
Yeah.
Even though Cade does that, it's not a necessity in Detroit. He's the only creator on the team besides Schroeder, and Schroeder isn't the tier of player we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So
It's weird to think that with Cade, whoever we get as his number 2 really can determine how he continues to develop, because he feels like a player that seems very moldable in terms of he's willing to adapt to kind of the role he's put in and what he needs to do to score, what he needs to do to facilitate. And throughout this series, he's flipped between those different mindsets. And let's say you go and get a Jaren Jackson Jr. Cool. That kind of sets you up to be in a little bit more of a facilitating mindset. If you get a Jalen Brown, cool. That puts you to be in that kind of mindset. If we don't do anything and we kind of just stick with what we have, we go for the kind of bargain bin deals like the Jabari Smith Jr.'s, you go for just the lower end assets, trying to find another Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr. while stocking up assets, he's going to have to take on that role of as a scorer. And I don't think either is bad, because you're going to see a good Cade Cunningham. We've seen how he can impact the game in both roles. But yeah, that's just kind of a interesting thought I've had about how adaptable he is.
yeah, super, super adaptable. Pistons have a good one in this playoff series. I know it wasn't the outcome we all wanted, but at least you got a guy. You don't
Yeah.
have to worry about was this guy gonna fold in the playoffs. I mean, he had some tough moments, but for the most part, you can see it. If you have eyes, you see the context around him, you're like, okay, he's serious.
Yeah.
So
It was him, Oscar Robinson, Luka Doncic, only players in their first 5 playoff games to score 25, 8 and 8, something like that. And this wasn't a good series from him. So
exactly.
that just shows you're scratching the surface. And I keep going back to this damn point, but if you put a number 2 with them, and if things go different ways, I feel like I could be put in the loony bin and just be putting those padded walls, be wrapped up, and I could just be thinking about how this series could have gone differently if a few things changed.
It's a few, man. Just like you said, if he make 1 3 today, we go into overtime, or maybe the game doesn't get to that point. Maybe you up by no more than you were at the end.
Yeah, and
Oh yeah, that
that's some extreme coping I'm doing as well. And we've had some Knicks fans in the chat kind of calling the Pistons out. And I mean, no hate to you guys. I think the the Knicks had a really good series, but at the same time, with your expectations, this is the series you do against the Pistons, and you're out there screaming like it's the finals. You're winning against the Boston Celtics, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Honeys, you got a lot on your plates coming up. So maybe leave the Pistons
yeah.
behind, start getting to those Celtics matchups.
Yeah, I saw Josh Hart like go home, go home. And it's like, hey, that's cool. I get it. Like as a competitor, and it was so much talking from both sides this series. I get it. You're excited to send them home. Like you said, I've been saying it all week to my coworkers and stuff. This series should not have been like this from the Knicks' perspective.
No. Yeah, the
Like
the
this is crazy.
the Knicks' third best player, you traded 5 first-round picks for. The Pistons' third best player in this series, you traded to take on salary of Dennis Schroeder. And that was just random. Maybe you could say it's Tobias Harris. Maybe you could say it's Malik Beasley. You signed for not a lot of money. Tim Hardaway Jr., you traded away Quentin Grimes, but you also gained back 4 second-round picks. So
Yeah.
this team could do a lot more. And Brennan, I'm excited to have you on the Ledgie Sports podcast, but also to anybody who's listening for the first time or just doesn't know, we also co-host a podcast on this YouTube channel called the 313 Connect with credentialed Pistons media member Sean Murphy, the host of the From Half Court YouTube channel. So anybody who's in here, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you like, comment, but also check out the playlist for the 313 Connect. Recently, we had on Anthony from the Pistons Talk podcast, an amazing guy, very smart. That was a really fun episode.
That was fun. Yeah, you gotta watch that game. You gotta watch the game segment. That was some of the best content on here so far.
Yep, the game was,
But
I came up with 3 things I saw on Twitter, and they were outrageous things. Brennan's, I'm pretty sure I gave you the one where it was, oh yeah, Jalen Duren is the second best player in the Knicks Pistons series. And he had to prove to me why that's true. Obviously, we don't believe that. But we had to kind of come up with it. Sean, he had to answer why Jalen Brunson is not a foul baiter and why Cade Cunningham certainly is. And Anthony from Pistons Talk had to answer, why should Simone Fontecchio be taking a majority of Malik Beasley's minutes? And spoiler alert, he linked it to the Pope's death. So make sure you check that one out.
Check that out. That was hilarious. Check that out.
Let me just see if we have any comments in here. And if not, we can start to head out. But we do have 15 in the chat. That's actually pretty crazy. A few comments so far. Pistons trash, bunch of hacks. Well, the bunch of hacks brought you to game 6. So Knicks up. Yeah.
Enjoy it, man. Y'all got them Boston boys, and Tatum is looking like he has flipped a switch. 35 straight against a much better defense than the Knicks. The Magic is a great defense. So again, though, like I said, I know the Knicks regular season defense wasn't all of that, but Hart, Bridges, and OG way more valuable in the playoffs. I'm excited to see how Tatum does against those 3 wings, but I do think he's gonna torch them.
Yeah.
I'm leaning Celtics in 5. Again, Brunson is a playoff killer, and Drew Holiday, Derek White, no matter, he gonna get his. So if the Knicks won 2 games off the back of a Brunson 40-point bomb, I'm not shocked, but I'm gonna go Celtics in 5.
Yeah.
In that series.
I would say Celtics in 6. And that's really hoping that the Knicks don't explode and Jalen Brunson doesn't step on the court weird and the court wobbles. Did you see that clip?
Yeah.
If they can stay healthy, I do think it does go 6 because I think the Karl-Anthony Towns experience has the chance to kind of really blow up. A couple more comments in here. Knicks in the building. Yeah, we have a lot of Knicks people in here. And then Arian, good series between 2 teams that have been disrespected for a long time. Yeah. Maybe Detroit, they haven't done shit since the mid-2000s. Knicks, other than a couple Melo years where they made the conference finals once with Melo, didn't they?
They made the semis in 14 and lost to the Pacers. Or that was 13.
Man.
But that was 14. It was 14 because Melo came in second in MVP.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And before that, was it 2000? Maybe 96? They had...
99, they played the Spurs in the finals.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that shows how much I know. And that goes towards the comment. I mean, they've been disrespected to where, for me, a guy who's been watching basketball for upwards of 17-ish years, the Knicks have kind of been on the back burner of my history knowledge. So,
Yeah. I will say those, since we're gonna give the Knicks a little bit of love, that was a good series.
oh yeah,
Great series. Those mellow years were phenomenal. Just like in terms of from entertainment perspective. I remember that game winner against Luol Deng on that Easter Sunday. He made the first one to tie up the game, made the next one in overtime to win the game. That was my favorite Knicks, or JR catching that lob and turning around like a 4 360 lob. Those are some of my favorite Knicks moments from that era. That was my childhood, and I love to play with the Knicks on 2K too. They had those green Christmas
yeah,
jerseys. Them jerseys was fire. So yeah, I will give the Knicks some love
yeah. I'll give him
right
love
there,
because I thought Clee Anthony early too was going to be really good.
bro. I thought Chris Copeland was a sniper. He was light skinned and had
Yeah,
dreads. He played with Melo. I thought he was a sniper. I was a kid. I just like shooters and stuff. So, but he did not really stick around
yeah.
too long.
Okay, Pablo Prigioni, is he assistant for the Knicks
Oh, I'm
or
not
because
sure.
he
That's
got? When did JB Bickerstaff get in? Am I dreaming? What didn't he get ejected from like one of the last games of the season?
uh,
I need to
I mean,
look
he got
this up.
ejected like twice this year,
Oh,
didn't he?
it was the I'm pretty. Was it the Timberwolves?
Ejected in the Timberwolves game. Oh, is Prigioni? Is he with the Timberwolves?
Let me look this up because he's a player I remember. Wasn't he the oldest drafted rookie?
He was like, was he 36, 37 when he played for the Knicks?
Yeah, that's one of those weird things where it's like, yes, the Minnesota Timberwolves, but
Yeah,
it's weird because I remember his name, and I remember it just because playing in 2K, you do a lot of rebuilds with the bad teams, so I would pick them a lot, along with the Pistons,
yeah.
and so oh, B Miller with the very unique comment, 1, 2, 3 Cancun. You know this Pistons team, man. I think they're going to enjoy this vacation because and Brennan, I'm not trying
Need
to
it.
drag us on too long. We've been on here a while. It's been an hour, 2 minutes. But can we just kind of get your take on just the magical Pistons year and what was accomplished?
Yeah, man. You got to think. The team won 14 games last year. And we talked about this on this podcast before, but when teams make a super turnaround, they usually add a Hall of Famer like Larry Bird, like Kevin Garnett, like Julius Erving. They add those type of guys. This Pistons team added no disrespect because these guys are they are good players and they definitely help come and establish a culture. But they added Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr. They drafted Ron Holland. They brought in JB Bickerstaff, who his last team gave up on him. Like the players kind of said, "Nah, we done with him. Get him out of here." Brought him in, and he came and established the defensive culture immediately. So tripling your win total, you have a guy in Cade Cunningham, not a guy who could just make game-winning threes like he did against my Miami Heat. Broke my heart that day, but he also get game-winning blocks against the Hawks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You accomplished this much without your second option, Jaden Ivey, who had maybe the play of the year against the Kings. That 4.3,
Yep. And then had a game
that
winner against
4 point
the
play.
Raptors.
You got Beasley, who would have led the league in threes if Anthony Edwards didn't shamelessly take 18 threes in the last. But I do get that though. Like you want to
Yeah.
lead the league in threes. That's an accomplishment. But the Pistons season went from last year when Cade was scoring 40 points and still losing. You sort of look on his face during that I forgot what game that was, but I know all Pistons fans know exactly what I'm talking about. Just sitting there with that blank face, everybody questioning because the Pistons are losing. Is he this? Is he that? But it was clear as day. He needed a team around him. And without even having a great team, he'll be second team all NBA this year.
Yeah.
So Pistons got a guy. The city needed this. The Lions are good. The Tigers are good. The Pistons are good now. So the city needed this, and it's a hell of a turnaround. And it's just gonna keep on going because he's going to keep getting better. Asar will get better. Ron will get better. Duran, he'll probably get better. Stu healthy. Ivy healthy. Just a lot to be excited for going into the next season.
Yeah. And the last point I want to make on that and about this season is after last season, we won 14 games. Every Pistons fan, even myself, was really tuned out. There was nothing to be excited about. And it was a thing where I've been making Pistons content for a while, mostly in shorts content previously for 3 years, TikTok. It made me lose the love for basketball at that point. Like, I would hate even watching any basketball, playoff basketball, anything about it, because it was so... It was almost humiliating to be a fan of the Pistons, because obviously no one's being like, oh man, you're a fan of the Pistons, they suck. But you take it to heart when you care about a team so much, and that's what they give you.
Right.
At the end of the year, you always knew there was only one direction to go, and that would be up. But what this year proved was the trajectory and the angle and how it's going higher than anyone could have ever expected. And JB Bickerstaff's going to lead us there. Like, he turned veterans that have been known for shooting threes, and that's about it, into being veterans who are a part of a fast break team, number 2 in the league in fast break points, as well as just overall one of the best defensive teams in the league. So I'm really excited to see how we can continue to mold the weapons the Pistons have, and just overall how this team is going to be better next year. I mean, maybe they're the 6th seed again, but they're battle-tested. They had a really good series against the Knicks, and I just expect another year of progression. Maybe we are another first-round exit, but it's all leading towards something now where we're finally starting to see the path. But Brennan, this is about the time where we're going to head out. Can you mention where people can find you, what kind of stuff you're working on? And, yeah.
Yeah. Still gonna be doing stuff at Detroit Bad Boys, even though the season's over with. So, I'm really excited to start working on a Asar Thompson season review. That has been a guy I've championed all season. So, excited to start working on that. Maybe even a Ron review. Yeah, I have some stuff coming for the All You Can Heat blog. You can find all that on my Twitter at Smoke Souls NBA. Yeah, I'm just thinking about the rest of the playoffs and giving you guys great game recaps, player breakdowns, all of it.
Yeah. And like I mentioned a little bit earlier, everyone make sure to check out this channel, the playlists, because there is also the 313 Connect podcast with myself, Brennan, Sean Murphy, as well as the Ledgie Sports podcast, which me and Brennan have done 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, and they've always been great, and they're only getting better because we're learning more. I mean, we're doing this media stuff now. So I really hope you guys check all of that out. Make sure you like, subscribe. We're going to be going live again tomorrow. I think it's just going to be me and Sean hosting the 313 Connect, and that will be live around 9:15-ish. But again, if you were in the chat today, if you were in the chat tomorrow watching this after the fact, we really appreciate what you guys are bringing in. We appreciate the comments. We appreciate the support. That's why we do this, is to kind of bring a fun element to Pistons basketball, fun element to the Pistons community. So that's enough of me rambling. I've been rambling a lot. This is a very sentimental night. It's the end of my favorite season of my time as a Pistons fan. So a lot to look forward to, but we'll be back on the Ledgie Sports YouTube channel with more content.